Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to go through an update on my project pan. I realised that I didn't give an update since I started it last year in August. I've continuously been using these products all along, but I forgot to give an update. I'm going to run through any changes that I'm going to be making. If you're interested in seeing how my project pan items have been doing, just keep watching. Alright, let's start off with the base products first. First up we have the Maybelline Fit Me Set and Smooth Powder. Now this one I have actually made a good amount of progress on since I started the pan. The pan size has increased substantially. Now you can see the full ring pattern on the pan underneath. So I've definitely sort of expanded it sort of quite evenly, I'd say, because I just swirl my brush in. But at the same time, I thought I would have made more progress than this. I use this basically every single time I do my makeup, and yeah, I mean, I guess I don't use a lot of powder because I have very dry skin, so that could be, you know, an explanation for why I pan powders very slowly. The goal for this one is to completely finish it up, so I'm just going to keep going with it, keep plodding on, and definitely I will hopefully finish it this year. I do love this powder, but I do think that I'm ready to completely use it up and try something new. So yeah, I'm going to keep going with this one. Alright, next up we have the Revolution Bake and Blot Powder. This one there's been substantially less progress on, so I don't actually really like this powder at all. It's very drying. I don't think it looks flattering on very dry skin, but I'm trying to use it up anyway because I can still use it. So in terms of progress, I guess the circle patterns have sort of almost completely been worn away, so I guess that's an indication of some progress that I've made, but definitely no pan in sight at all, nowhere near close actually. There's no dips or anything, and I think that is just because with this one I use a very, very small amount just in the areas where my face isn't as dry to set with. So this one is expected to be very slow progress. The goal for this one is to try and use it up completely. Clearly this is going to be in my project pan for many a time to come. So yeah, nothing really that exciting to see with this one. I'm going to keep going with it. Next up we have the e.l.f. blush palette in dark. This one again, sadly not that much progress to be seen. And that is because this blush palette is so pigmented that you really only need the tiniest amount when you are applying it. I've been using this shade I think the most out of all the shades, but it really doesn't look very used at all. I am wearing it on my face today. It's really pretty. Not my favourite blush formula. I prefer a more sort of buildable, not necessarily super sheer blush formula, but just something that is not super pigmented. I feel like you have more control with a more buildable blush formula, and it tends to be easier to blend out. But I do really like the colours in here. The goal for this one is just to hit pan in one of the blushes, and I think that's probably most likely going to be in this shade. Hopefully by the next update I will maybe have a bit of a dip. Probably most certainly not a pan. If I can at least get a bit of a dip going, I think that will make me happy by the next update. Next up we have the Mary Luminizer Highlighter. Now this one, again, not huge amounts of progress, but I feel like highlighters are very difficult along with blushes to pan, simply because you don't need very much of it when you use it, and I am using this one today. Although there's no pan yet, you can sort of see the ringed pattern of the pan underneath, I think, when I shift it in certain lights. It's not hugely apparent, but if you look a little more closely, it's there. So at least that to me is an indicator that there has been some progress, and that is sort of motivating me to continue. I really do enjoy this highlighter, and the goal for this one is to hit pan on it, not completely use it up, because my goodness, that would take an absolute age. I don't know if I will have hit pan by the next update, probably not, but maybe the ringed structure will be really visible in the next update, so that could be exciting. But yeah, I'm going to keep going with this one. Next up we have the Colourpop Super Shock Cheek Highlighter in the shade Wisp. I have to confess, I really haven't used this one that much since my last update, since I started the project pan. Yeah, it's just because I've been so focused on trying to hit pan on the powder one that this one has been sort of neglected. I have used it a couple of times, but definitely nowhere near as much as I've used the Mary Luminizer. I will endeavour to use this one more from now on. It is really gorgeous and I love the formula of it. I think this one should be far easier and quicker to hit pan on than the Mary Luminizer highlighter, so I really do want to press on forward with this one. Moving on to the eyes, next I have the Maybelline 24-Hour Colour Tattoo in the shade Creme de Rose. This one actually has some good signs of progress on it. There is a very nicely sized dip in the middle. You can definitely tell that I have been using this. No pan yet, but I remain hopeful and I think this is promising for the future. The goal with this one is to completely use it up, so I think obviously there is a way to go yet with this, but maybe I could finish it up this year. At the start of the project pan, I wasn't really using it as much as I should have. I definitely didn't use it every single time I did my eyeshadow, just because, as I mentioned in the initial video, this didn't prevent my eyeshadow from creasing for very long at all. In fact, it would crease within like an hour or two of me wearing this. But since then, I feel like this has dried out more and I actually really like it way more now. This prevents my eyeshadow from creasing way longer now than it did before, especially with my newer process of applying primer. A subscriber actually suggested the idea of double priming to me when I was saying that my eyelids are incredibly oily and everything creases on it quickly. Essentially, you go in with one layer of eye primer, do your matte shadows, then over where you're going to put your shimmer shadows, put another layer of primer, and then put your shimmers down. And that process actually works really well for me. The only difference is I actually set the first layer of eye primer with either a matte powder or just a plain sort of eyeshadow first. So, and I find that that process works really well for me, so I've been doing that with all of my eye primers, and my eyeshadows last way longer now without creasing, like maybe 10 to 12 hours of wear I get without creasing, and then I get the very slightest amount of creasing right in the inner third of my crease. So really quite good. This one I don't get quite as long crease proof wear with, but now that it's dried out more, it's a huge improvement now. It's still pretty creamy actually, but I do notice a difference in texture when I feel it. When I first got it, it was super creamy, and obviously the creamier something is, the more likely it's going to crease. Well, the easier it's going to crease on your eyes. So now that it's dried out more, I appreciate this a lot more, and I don't sort of dread using it as much as I used to before. So I am anyway, that was a very long tangent, but I'm pleased with the progress that I've made so far, and I will be using this far more often now. Next up we have a biggie. This is the Soph X Revolution original eyeshadow palette. Mine's a little grubby on the front since I've used this quite a bit, but this one I am really happy with my progress with. My goal with this one was to hit 1 eyeshadow pan on it, and I have since hit 3. Now, to more experienced project panners, 3 eyeshadow pans might not be a lot, but to me it's a big deal, because prior to this I had no powder eyeshadow pans. I only had 2 eyeshadow pans, and those were both colourpop. Those were both Colourpop Super Shock shadows. So those were cream shadows, which are arguably a lot easier and quicker to hit pan on. So I am so proud of myself, even though it took a very long time for me to hit pan on a powder eyeshadow. I'm so happy that this palette is showing more signs of use, and that it looks like it is being more well loved, because it is. So the 3 eyeshadows that I hit pan on are Cloudberry, which is this beautiful sort of orange soda shade, really beautiful. It's got specks of like shimmer in it. Then the next pan was in Sparks Fly, a beautiful gold metallic. I used this a lot, just all over my lid. And then the last pan is in Cup of Tea. Wonderful sort of camel toned transition shade. I used Copper Tea and Cloudberry a lot just in my crease, and that is what I have done today as well. And then Sparks Fly on the lid. Also then topped with Grow Old, which is this gorgeous warmer toned gold shade compared to Sparks Fly. It's not such a smooth metallic like Sparks Fly is. I like to layer it on top to give it a more sort of textured, almost even sparkly kind of look. It just makes it look more dimensional and the shimmers look even more special. As much as I've really enjoyed using this palette a lot, I have achieved my goal on it, and well, I guess I overachieved. I hit 3 pans instead of 1, but I am going to remove this from my project pan now, and I'm not going to add another palette in, and there is a reason for that. So I actually really struggled a lot initially with using this palette, not because of this palette, but just the idea of sticking to one palette and really having to use it a lot. I don't know, that is the whole point of a project pan, but I guess what I'm trying to say in a really roundabout, badly worded way is that I'm someone that really likes to reach into different eyeshadow palettes every single time I do my makeup. I don't really like being stuck with one, or having to sort of feel obligated to use one, which is sort of what I felt like with this one. I felt like I had to use it every week. I had to use it X number of times each week so that I could make progress, and that in turn sort of made me really not want to use this palette originally, and so I didn't. That being said, I really did enjoy using it very recently to do all of my work looks with, but that was only sort of after I hit pan on Cloudberry, after I felt like I'd achieved my goal and that sort of pressure that I was placing on myself was lifted. I was able to sort of enjoy using it more freely without thinking, I have to make progress, I have to hit pan. For that reason, I'm not going to be adding any more palettes into my project pan. What I might do instead is have like a focus palette each month, or maybe a couple of focus palettes each month. I might give that a go. And then maybe if I do happen to hit any pans in eyeshadow palettes, maybe I'll just mention them. Alright, I believe there are just 2 more products to update you on, and those are both lipsticks. So first up we have the iHeartMakeup, now called iHeartRevolution, and Just Have Fun lipstick. This one there's actually been a decent amount of progress on. I feel like the bullet has really decreased in size substantially, so I'm happy with the progress that I've made so far, but I honestly thought I would have finished it by now. I have used this pretty regularly, I'd say maybe several times a week, and very recently I've been using it almost every day. But yeah, there's still quite a bit of it left. I guess that really puts into perspective just how long it takes to use up a lipstick. I do enjoy it, but I am excited to finish it and for it to have had its time in my collection and to move on. Pleased with this one, we'll keep going. And then lastly, we have this Etude House Dear My Wish lipstick in the shade PK003. Unfortunately, we are ending on a little bit of a downer. This one has had virtually no progress. You'll be able to see that the bullet is pretty much the same size. I feel like putting it in the project pan was a bit of a mistake on my part originally, just because this really isn't the sort of colour that I use that often, nor do I really want to use that often. So I don't know why I put it. Well, I know why I put it in. It's because it was an older lipstick and I really wanted to finish it up. But I'm now my mentality has sort of changed a bit since then. I feel like unless I genuinely really do want to use it up, I don't need to put it in the project pan. Like, if it's a product that I like but don't use that often, I don't really want to force myself to use it a lot just to finish using up. Like, if I like it and I like having it in my collection, then I can just have it in my collection and not have to use it all the time. Does that make sense? Like, this shade I really do genuinely like, and I do like this formula, but it's not a shade that I use that often, so I think it's fine for me to just have it in my collection and only bring it out every now and again when I want this look. So it really doesn't make sense to put this in the project pan initially, and I feel like I shouldn't have put it in to begin with. So I haven't reached for it much. And that's why there's been like no progress with this basically. This one still smells fine and it works fine, so I'm fine with keeping it in my collection without forcing myself to use it a lot just for the sake of using it up. Alright, that is it. That's the update on my project pan and all the changes that I'm making. Gosh, I spent far longer talking about this than I thought I would, but as always, I can blabber on longer than necessary. Anyway, if you made it to the end of this, thank you so much for watching. I hope it was enjoyable. If you enjoyed this video, please like, and you can also subscribe if you wish to. But yes, I will see you in my next video otherwise. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.